Hello everyone, welcome back to the KMTRADERS channel. So again guys, this is the full market analysis, volume 39. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to actually keep our previous technicals on, so in terms of what we predicted last full market analysis, and this is just to show you guys what we're trying to do. So again, this video may be a bit longer because we're going to have to edit and change a few of our arrows, etc., through each pair, but I just wanted to keep this on for this episode, and if you want me to take it out, then we'll do that in the future. But for now, I'm gonna test it out for the next few weeks or so, just to give you a track of everything, and it's just to help track our analysis for the future from our previous analysis videos. So again, I hope that makes sense why I decided to keep it in. So for tomorrow, we're going to be actually just taking a look at one pair CAD JPY. I was looking to previously do this last week, but I just couldn't really make sense of it now. So I think we could be looking at making a video for that tomorrow. But yeah, guys, it's just going to be pretty much a full-winded market analysis. So again, I hope this does bring some value to you guys. So we'll start off with gold. Again, a lot of questions about this and what's been happening over what's my thoughts around this. So my bias is still towards the downside if I was to pick, and again what we was looking at was about 1850 to sell off, and again we had this region marked out here and we could see price push down. So what we mentioned last week was a push up and then potential push to the downside. Now, I don't think that this strength to the downside is strong enough because we've seen a lot of wick action here. So I think what we could anticipate next week is price to move up just a little bit further, potentially do something like this, and then we come down to the low into breaking this prior low here. And then we can consider price to come into this area, which is where we wanted to look at. I'm not going to go too far forward just as yet. I just want to make sure and focus this move to the downside first. So yeah, I'm pretty much waiting for price to make its move to the downside. If we do miss this move to the downside, don't worry, because the main move is towards the upside, which is where I think the real money is. Again, this is just a short-term move, but it still has a good potential of about 100 pips to around 150 odd. So yeah, that's ideally where price could head into. So we're just waiting for price to make a break towards this prior high, and again we could be looking at for a move to the downside to take out this low. So that's where I'm looking at for that pair. Euro USD, if I take a look at this, what we looked at last week, we were looking for a retest at 1.2. I still think that we are in track for this. I can start to see that we are starting to see some sellers come into this pair. So I'm going to leave this annotation here, but I am still keen to see if we can retest 1.2 at some point, and price to eventually come into this area and test it, and then we could see that push at the upside. So I am looking for buys at 1.2 around that region. If we move on to NZD USD, so again, I am waiting for this drop into the market. I think what we could be anticipating is, if we were to draw, some channels here, I think it will make it a bit more sense to see how price is, channeling up into this upwards region. So ultimately, I'm waiting for price to move down. And again, if we just move these arrows just to the side, I am waiting for price to just come into this area to retrace ever so slightly. So we just need to wait for that sell-off condition to commence, and then we could start to see price move just a bit lower. But yeah, ideally I just want to see price come down and retrace this whole move. So from this point onwards, that yellow box comes into the 618, which is where I'm pretty much thinking. If we now look to another pair, AUD USD, same situation again. I am looking for a downside move. Again, this box is going to have to be readjusted as we make more and more pushes towards the upside, because ideally I want to see if we can target the 50 to the 618 fib. So as we start to make our way higher and higher, this box will progressively move again higher. But yeah, I hope you can understand that this level in the market is the 618, and I want to see price, make its way towards the downside, and enter this region before we can make a critical turning point. Again, this is the second step, the next move up. But ideally, I just want to see price make its way towards the upside, to the downside into this zone, and then see exactly where we can move on in the future. Looking at the next pair, so we have USD JPY. So this one has been pretty much, channeling sideways, a lot of sideways moving market, and I think on a higher time frame perspective, this is all consolidative. This is a consolidative area in the market, so this could be a very good potential warning that we could be making our next move towards the upside, which is where my focus is. So if we just get rid of a few annotations here, if we just get rid of these moves to the upside, what I can see here is, we didn't make a push to the upside, so I think we could have a possibility of pushing lower and then making that significant move to the upside. And I am looking to target at least this high here, so 105.6, take out this high, and then we could see price make a big run towards the upside. So if we look at something like this, it's around 200 pip move. Again, it's a very decent risk to reward ratio, and I want to see this possibly take place. So ideally I want to see price take out this prior high and see what happens after that. So that's my next move for USD JPY. CAD JPY we'll look at tomorrow in a bit more detail. EJ, I am looking for price to again come back into this level in the market. Again, I'm keeping these annotations here because I still think that we could still see price to come into this area, so roughly at 125. And then we could see a potential push towards the upside. Again, we're using this channel here as well. If we were to duplicate this level or this trend line and attach it to this point, we can see how price is channeling very nicely, respecting the upside of this channel, upside resistance. So ideally what I want to see price do is stay within these lines and within this area, and it can give us a projection point of how, if we do come into this area and how price could come into this dynamic resistance, and we could see price start to test the higher levels, potentially even into 128. But again, it just depends on how choppy and price action moves again. So yeah, so just to summarize again, just wanting price to come into 125, this zone here, see how it reacts, and then I will be looking for the push to the upside. Moving on to NZD-JPY, I am looking for that bigger significant retracement of this entire move. As we make our way towards the upside, I still think we are capable enough to make another push up before we make a prior move. So I'm just going to get rid of these annotations, and again, as we make our prior, as we continue making a push higher and higher, I'm also altering this box, the 618 to the 50 fib, and I am waiting for price to come back into this area. So at some point we could see price come into this area, and then we can start to look for, we can start look into making our next move, which ideally for me is going to be a buying position. Sorry, excuse the noise in the background. But yeah, so ideally we want to see price retrace into this area and see how price reacts. But again, guys, this is the downside move that I am anticipating. So there is a lot of opportunity for price to make a move here. So around 300 or just under 300 pips. So again, a good enough risk reward ratio there. Looking at the next pair now, AUD JPY. If we take a look at this, ideally I want to see the price do a similar sort of thing again. I want to see the sell-off in the market at some point, because we are making these continuated pushes towards the upside, and I think it's important to understand that when markets are just continuing to push higher, there is more often not a big correction in store for us. So as we're continuing to make new highs, we're just readjusting the mark of our potential retracement zone. And ideally that's what we're going to be following on through the weeks and through the days of this pair and other pairs as well. So what I want to see is price to come into this area, have that sell off, have a a rejection at the 618 fib to the 50 fib, have some sort of significance there before we see momentum continue to the upside. Again, this is the long-term move to the downside, and then the second move would be towards the upside. So ideally this is around 300 pips if we can get that sell-off, and that's why I'm more focused on the counter trend as well, because there is a significant amount of pips that we can make into the market, and it's just dependent on what you prefer to trade. Again, if you're a long-term trader and you're a trend, you'd rather trade the trend, you're going to have to wait a lot of times before the market is in that area and in the right conditions to push in your direction. So that's something you just have to consider. So moving on to the last two pairs, USD Chef. What we're going to do is have a look at what I'm thinking. So what we can see here is price making its way, falling down, and what I was saying last week is a potential push to the upside. So we're just waiting for that to happen. We can start to see there is a slight divergence, or there is divergence forming, not slight, sorry. So price is making that you do have your momentum kicking in towards the upside and slowing down, which is the sell bias is slowing down, and that's where momentum is kicking towards the upside. So ideally I just want to see how price reacts in the next few days or so, and if we can make our way into around 0.9 to 0.902, so this zone here, and again the further it makes a move down, there's more potential in this trade. So again, it's just 130 pips, but again take your risk with take your trade with with the reduced risk, again, just to make sure this doesn't break any of your risk management conditions. But again, I just want to see if price can make its way to the upside, and then I want to see price to take out the prior low. So again, we'll have to adjust this because obviously we're making continuated lows here, but I want to see price take out the prior low, and then we can signify the next move higher. So that's where my head's at with USD Chef. If we now look at our final pair for this video and for this full market analysis, it's USD CAD. So my thoughts around this pair is still the same as we've drawn out here. What I am looking out for is a push towards the upside. Again, this move could be significant. I am looking out for a possibility that we could have a reaction at this zone here. I am having double thoughts about this retracement being so excessively low, just because of how prices continuing to push lower. I think that we could have, I think what's the best thing to do is to see how price reacts to this zone here, and if we can get this, and then if we start to trade within this area here, roughly around 1.32 to 1.33, it could be a significant indication that we are, gonna make a continuation even higher, possibly to break this zone here, 1.34. So ideally, I just want to see how price reacts. And if we take a look at the RSI, we should have some divergence. Yes, so we can see how price is making its lower low, and we can see how there is a sort of divergence here where the troughs of the RSI is different to the troughs on the price action chart. So ideally, we could start to see momentum kick back up into the market, and we could start to see some buyers kick in here. So that's pretty much what we've got covered for next trading week. I think there is a lot of trading opportunities for next week. Compared to last week, there was a lot of slow moves in there. I think there was a lot of fundamentals around last week. I think we could start to see a slight progression into the market coming into the next week or so. And we could start to see some moves into the market, which is what we're waiting for. So hopefully we start to see some of our analysis starting to play out, our long-term moves, and then hopefully guys, you can get in some of these moves too. But yeah guys, I do appreciate the time for watching all the way to the end of this video. If you did make it all the way to the end, feel free to leave your comments in the comment section. Make sure you're subscribed, give this video a like if you did, and of course guys, again, thank you very much for listening, and we'll come back tomorrow for CAD JPY. So thank you very much for listening guys, and see you all into the next video.